Hi, everybody. Welcome to Altar Call MAFS. I'm your host, Tane, here to talk to you today about Couples Therapy Season 4, Episode 16. We are winding down. We have two more episodes left. Covering this with me is the lovely Jenn. Hi, Jenn. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm so refreshed after we took a little break and now we're back. We don't have to deal with Boris and his weirdness. So I'm actually looking forward to these episodes now that I don't have Boris. It's great.
Oh, these couples. It's funny because I am not drawn to any couple. I'm not like, oh my God, like I just really want them to work. Like I don't. This season is a weird season to previous seasons. I'm not gonna lie. I just feel like I don't feel any. The word's not affinity, but I'm not attached to any couple
Are you
or
rooting for
invested
any
so
couple?
much.
Like, is there some couple that you're like, I hope at the end of this you get the clarity that you deserve. I hope at the end of this we figure out why you put all your mess out on TV.
I think that's what I'm saying. I don't think
Okay.
I care that much.
Okay. Cool.
That it's kind of the only thing I know I strongly feel is that Kyle and Mondo should not be together. Despite what they try to sell us on this episode, I just don't like imbalanced relationships,
Mm. Hmm.
and they give me that heavy no matter
Yeah.
what they try to tell us, and I just feel like it's sad to me sometimes when one party thinks like they can't do better and they just convince themselves like I love this person so much, and you don't realize that it could be better, you know?
Yeah.
So,
And
okay,
that's
let's
kind of
just
that's kind of what I said on the last episode. The tough thing about the show is that there's nothing funny about it. Like we can't turn it into like, haha, look what other than Allison and her sparkly sweaters. Like there's nothing really funny that we can glean from this. So they end up being pretty heavy episodes.
I'm okay. Like, so, there's a lot of funny and light shows. So I'm okay with the heaviness. But I feel like in the past, we have had couples where it's like, oh, I really hope they work it through. Although, majority of the sentiment is like, none of these couples should be together. But at least you're just like, oh, maybe there's a tenderness, maybe there's something. But these couples just seem, I don't know. I don't know if it's a, I don't think they're all, well, except for Kyle and Mondo, they're too willing to be transparent. It's not
Mm,
fun when it's a therapy show and you feel like the people are holding back. I
mm,
think that's where I'm going with that.
okay.
So okay,
Mm.
diving straight into Rod and Allison. She is wearing her sequin Disney sweater, and I'm like, is she wearing that back to back? But that just lays credence to what you said in the last episode that I don't think we're seeing that in order. They just used that for them in the waiting room. She was sitting in the waiting room with Rod waiting for it, but by the time they got into the actual room, that is not the sweater she was wearing. So,
Got you,
we watch
editors.
reality shows, so we catch things. So Rod says like he's not prone to speaking much, but when he does, it can be raw, it can be difficult. I'm like, what do you mean, sir? Because Orner has to be like, specifically what? And he said they were talking and it triggered an upset from her. I'm like, we are never going to be rid of this, are we? Because Allison is a walking trigger. Hi, Allison. Why did you say that? Do you need something from me? Why did you say hi? Why didn't you say hello? You just said hi? That makes me so angry. Why are you talking to me? So,
I mean, it's funny because it's true.
he says that she did get a part time job. Yay, Allison. I'm happy for her because I think
Yay.
part of it is she needed to expend her energy somewhere where she feels useful. I don't know what the job is, but she usually has to work weekends. And that's when they usually spend their time together. They spend, as Rod says, is weekend, not weekend, like weekend together. And so on Sunday, he was off. I guess she had to work. So he just got in his head. He starts thinking about life and he's like, where I am in life, I could be further. And he was just in a spiral. Rod, relatable content. I feel you. I hear you. I see you. And she said, Allison said she knew. And she asked him and was like, how are you doing? He was like, oh, I'm fine. And she just left it. She's like, I'm not going to press it like I usually do that. I don't want to be overbearing anymore. You say you're fine. I'm going to take your word at it and you're fine. I'm thinking, what is the purpose of this story? Because once again, we are jumping into a story where I feel like we were not prepared for in the background. And Rod is quiet, but I think we've talked about it in some kind of way. He feeds into this. And I bet he was mad that she didn't press to figure out
Yes.
what was wrong with him. Because the
Yep.
thing that he criticizes her for is actually the thing that he's, whether he's used to or he likes it, he likes that dynamic. Low key, I do think that Rod envies Allison's loudness because she gets to say what she wants to say. She gets to be bold. She gets to be audacious and do whatever, regardless of how it's being received. She's doing her and she's speaking her mind. He doesn't get to do that. And sometimes you can be envious of those qualities that you do not possess personally.
Yeah. 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 Same. And I also one step further is I wonder too if he wants her to treat him the way she wants to be treated. Because if he ever asked her, "What's the matter?" and she says nothing, and he lets it go, she'd be upset. So, like, I think maybe to some degree, maybe he's testing her, like, "Hey, if I just said, if I just asked you this one thing and let it go, you wouldn't do it to me. You would want me to press. So I want you to press for me." I don't know. It's they're such an interesting dynamic in terms of
Mm-hmm.
what they want. Just ask for what you want. If you want a
Mm-hmm.
kiss, say I want a kiss. If you want her to ask you more questions, say, "Hey babe, I want you to ask me more questions." Like that's what people mean when they say communicate, not just
Yeah.
saying words.
And they've done this for so long that, again, they don't know how
Yeah.
to get out of it, for
Mhm.
that.
Mhm.
So Orna tells Virginia that, Rod and Allison came in with a lot of noise, a lot of sound. But Allison is actually doing serious work and she's actually unrecognizable at this point. But that Rod, on the other hand, she doesn't think she's even made a dent on him. And when he's not clear about what he's feeling, doesn't know how to articulate it, she uses the word recruits Allison. My
Mhm.
interpretation, which I agree with, is that he's basically hiding behind Allison. If anything happens, oh, she's the loud wife, I can easily say, oh, Allison, she got annoyed, she got this. But the problem is, as Allison is benefiting from this therapy and is getting better, Rod is not going to have anywhere to hide.
Yeah, and I wonder if that happens a lot in therapy where, like, maybe one person in the couple is kind of making changes and that other person is stagnant and kind of resents that their dynamic has changed or they don't know what to
Mm-hmm.
do with the change dynamic. So maybe that's what we're experiencing now is that Allison, not only is she benefiting from having this other job and maybe having somewhere else to another outlet for all of her emotions and feelings and whatever she had pent up and getting, we talked about her doing well when she's patted on the head and maybe she's getting that from work that she doesn't need it at home as
Mm-hmm.
much.
Yep,
So,
because whether he wants to admit it or not, yes, Allison is loud and makes all the noise, but Rod is a creature of habit and he's just
mhm,
a comfort zone type of guy. I'm still
mhm.
mad that we never followed up from the homework that Orna gave them many, many episodes ago, but okay. So Orna asks him, "What do you want from Allison?" And he says kindness and respect. He says he wants a 50-50 with her for her to be patient and let him get there without interrupting. He says, he's saying like what he wants. Then he says, "This process has given Allison awareness and, oh, trigger." Allison interrupts and was like, "How do you know that? How do you know it's giving me awareness? Like, what is it?" And then he's like, I don't. And I'm like, Rod, stand on business. You do know. Last episode, she said, "I hear you, Orner, in in my head. So when I say something, I don't do anything." When she asked you, "How are you doing?" and you said, "I'm fine." She left it. She wasn't being overbearing. That's how I know that it's giving you awareness. Just because she blows up doesn't mean you should back up and say, "No, I don't." But she gets all mad that, I don't know, he noticed something, which to me was like a compliment. And I would argue that, like I said, she lets him talk and he notices her pausing and she's just triggered. And I just wish she would have stood on business. And that's where I was like, because at first I don't think I agreed with Orna that she hadn't made a dent with Rod, but I'm like, oh, she might be right. because he immediately retreated and was like, "Yeah, I don't know that," and let her run away with the narrative that Allison is like, "Oh, we get into these assumptions and we try to say like we assume these things, but we don't even know it's for fact." And I'm like, "No, that's all wrong." So,
Right.
yeah.
Well, that goes back
Yeah.
to last week when she said to him, I don't want to fix you. And he's like, I'm not broken. So,
Yeah.
like, what is it that she feels like she needs to manage? Because there's something about silence and, where he needs that time, he'll say something and he needs time to figure out what's next, and like her anxiety makes her feel like she needs to fill that space. It's a weird dynamic they've got.
Hmm. But Orna just kind of, rounds it up for them and he says like, I need to own my own space. For some reason, again, it's the littlest things. Allison really loves the fact that he says he needs to own his own space. I'm here saying like, what why is that so great? But she's like, I actually like him right now. I like him right now more than I've liked him for the last few weeks. Like, and even Rod is like, what? And say it again. Like, I need to own my own space. Okay.
Right.
And I'm like, this is interesting. But yeah. So it was a for Rod and Allison, this was a good episode for them, I would say.
Yeah, I think it's still one of those things where they're at first in the last episode, or the last episode we covered, I said, Allison kind of looks to Orna when she does something good, like she wants cookie and praise. And maybe Rod has a little bit of that too. Like when he does something good, he wants either Orna or Allison to be like, that's good insights, sir. And when she said, I kind of like you right now, he's like, oh, what did I do? Let me do that again. So you go, boy. Pay attention to that.
So yeah, that was it for them. Take a quick break and talk about Kyle and Mondo. Okay. So they pick back up on what they talked about last time. And Kyle says, we don't talk much about being in an interracial relationship, which is insane. I can't remember
As
how long they've been
Yeah.
together. Do you remember?
I don't, but especially again, and maybe we're getting stuff out of last week. Like that was the whole last episode was about how Mondo feels dismissed racially. And what? Did you not talk about that when y'all went home?
No, I think he means they're picking up from last week. So I feel
Got
like they just mean in the entirety of their relationship.
Oh,
That's why Mondo also felt like, oh, I can't bring it up. And then Kyle has just never noticed. And then the whole time, they've just never talked about the fact that they're in an interracial relationship, but probably because sometimes, in a lot of cases, a lot of white people don't like talking about race. And then Mondo is all about keeping Kyle comfortable. So, God,
yeah.
I'm not going to say anything. So I do
Mhm.
think he also plays a part in it, especially being the one that is being dismissed. At first, I'm not saying he should not even be dismissed at all, but if you're uncomfortable and your partner is doing that to you and you're choosing to stay with them, bring it up.
Yeah.
I don't understand. Like, it's not an excuse, but Kyle even had no idea this was an issue. So
And
he
again,
can't
that's
bring it up.
Orna. That's Orna saying, "Leia, yeah, you're white. It doesn't affect you. Why would you think about that?" But
Yeah.
it is kind of interesting again to for Kyle to be uh quote unquote an other and not consider the times where Mondo might be another. That part blows me away more than just the white thing. It's if you're just a random white dude, okay, whatever, but you're a deaf dude. Like how does that not come into your life?
Oh, that doesn't shock me at all.
Oh, that
It
shocks the
doesn't
heck out
shock
of
me
me.
because, yeah, sometimes it's just I don't know or understand the blinders that come with that. Like Orna was not wrong at all. Like she said it perfectly. It's just that's what comes with being white. You just the blinders are just off everywhere, and I'm like, why,
Mhm.
why? Kyle, you should know. But Mondo says he didn't know if he had a place at the table to even say that he felt weird, and Anna is the one who helps him and says the word othered. Um, Orna and Virginia are talking, and I think now that we don't have Boris and Jessica, we're going to see a lot of Orna and Virginia and Orna and her peers when she talks about the couples that she's working with. Orna and Virginia say that Mondo and Kyle, that opening their relationship opened up more things that they hadn't uncovered. And Orna wonders if that's why people open relationships to unlock some sort of lockdown that they have in their relationship. And I'm like, that's not why. People are not that smart. You're giving them too much credit. It's it's a natural process that yes, it does unlock things when you open up your relationships because you're encountering new territory,
Mhm.
or something that you haven't encountered before. But it's not because, oh, let's go open it because we might unlock this thing in our relationship that would give us more. No, it's not that. People
No.
just either are lustful, want to have more sex, are bored, and just want
Mhm.
to try new things. It is not some self introspection reason or thing.
Generally,
So,
no. And I have friends who are in the ethical non-monogamy lifestyle, and I think for one couple in particular, the man was really driving it, and I think the shock that he's experienced when he realized, like, oh no, no, in this lifestyle, she's the hot commodity. So, like, whatever happens to you is a byproduct of her being the hot one. And
yeah,
maybe that's always that seems to be an unexpected byproduct of the partner who brings it up, thinking, oh, this is going to open all this stuff up for me, and then they go, oh wait, that opens all this stuff up for my partner. And it's just so wild that a lot of people don't consider that.
yeah, if anything else, if I had to choose what the reason is, it's because people think that a lot of people believe that monogamy is not natural. They just
Hmm.
believe like it's impossible for you to be with one person for the rest of your life. And then, but they do love the person that they're with. And
Hmm.
instead of just cheating on them, like just opening it up so that way you're getting whatever these needs being met and still having that relationship with that person. But like you said, there are these unforeseen circumstances that they do not
Hmm.
plan for that come
Hmm.
up, and then you have to deal with it. So, I want to ask them where they are, Mondo and Kyle, in their open relationship. And Mondo was like, you know what? I was like, I went into fuck it mode. And it's like, you know what? Let them have sex. You have sex with whoever, I do, and then we'll figure it out. But he felt otherwise earlier because he didn't think that they had earned it as a couple. I wonder what he meant by that. But since therapy, they have been analyzing it and he now knows what it feels like. Orna asks him, what does it feel like? Can you explain that? And he says it feels like freedom. It feels like a lot of trust. I trust that um Kyle is not going to do anything dumb. And I think my question for you is, do we believe that?
I think I believe that only because of where he went from there. I think maybe the restriction was maybe kind of part of the excitement for Kyle, was that knowing that what I'm doing, it feels like I'm getting away with something, and when you've told me I can get away with it, that it's not as exciting anymore. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
when kids want to smoke and parents are like, here's a pack, and then they smoke a pack and they're like, ugh, is that what that is? Never mind, I don't want it anymore. So maybe Mondo giving Kyle what he wanted, and Kyle going, oh, is this what this is? When I can have it, it feels different. That was what it felt like to me.
I can understand that. I think I wasn't thinking about doing something dumb only in terms of sex because I think from what they've said in the past, it was a little dabble in drugs. It was getting drunk when you go out and not being, you know, Mondo being worried. Like, is he going to be safe when he's drunk and things like that? So, I wasn't sure. I don't know, but I fully embraced Mondo being like, fuck it. You have sex, I'm gonna have sex too. Like
Mhm.
you do you. So Kyle says that his thing is like, as long as you come home at night, that's all I'm concerned about. But last week he was worried. And Owner was like, worried about what? He was like, oh, he just went out and it was over an hour and I didn't know where he was. And Mondo was like, oh, but I was with friends. And, I sent the timestamp. I sent this. I sent that. I'm like, what is this? Like, was Kyle doing that when he went away? Like, what is your, he
No,
was trying to
absolutely not.
reassure him. Yeah. He's like, I'm trying to reassure him. He was like, oh, yeah, I was with friends. So I was like, so now you don't feel good when it's two people? What is with this? Only one person can enjoy the open relationship. This is why I'm
Mhm.
convinced. I said this a couple of episodes ago that it's a power thing, and I don't like it. This is my I
Yeah.
don't mind that they want to be in an open relationship, but if two people are not aligned and then now he's on board and now you don't like it, and in an hour, like even the whole thing of where are you? What are you doing? Showing the timestamps. I didn't like that. But that went so casually that I'm like, okay, maybe I'm the problem, but that's not fun. I thought you just said you're gonna trust each other and no one's gonna do anything dumb. But if I'm in a relationship where I have to send a picture and a timestamp to prove to you where I am, that's not good.
Right. And it's crazy because I think even the last episode, Kyle was talking about him and Mondo were like at the same bar, and Mondo walked away to do something else, and Kyle made out with somebody while Mondo was right there.
Yeah.
But like, what? And I think in this situation, it's one of those. You ever see those TikTok stories about the men who are like, "No, I'm not going to let you go on a girls' weekend. I would never let my wife go on a girls' weekend." And it's less about what she's doing and what you would do if you were in her situation. And that's what this felt like to me, is that Kyle's more worried about what he would do or what he has done when Mondo was at home and now he's at home, and he's like, "Wait, what are you doing? Because you were doing some crap and now you're worried
Yeah.
about it happening to you." Haha. I don't feel bad for
Yeah.
you.
I don't know. I just their whole dynamic I don't like. But the whole thing is because Mondo to me has a skewed definition of what love and care is. Mondo
Mhm.
is so pleased by this. Mondo's one of those people that is so cute that you're jealous. No, no,
Yeah.
it's not. I just want to be like, stop it. He is grinning like no business and is just so happy. And then Kyle is like, I mean, again, not diminishing his feelings, this is what he said. He's like, in my mind, everyone always leaves, and my dad left, my stepfather left, and the times that I have fucked up is because I thought that I was so unworthy of our relationship that I was like, I'll just go ahead and fuck it up. Mondo is like, oh, he has come a long way. And Kyle's like, I will say this, I'm a late bloomer, but I'll catch up. And I'm like, we're giving Kyle too much credit. What? I don't
I
know if I'm being too harsh, but that was all I was thinking was like, Mondo's like, you've come a long way, you're doing so well. Why? I don't
And
know.
this whole time, I was not at all focused on Kyle. Like, the two things that Mondo said that made me so happy was, number one, he said, "I'm listening to myself." And he said, "The burden of being a parent is lifted." Either he said that or I wrote that down. But that to me was my happiness for Mondo in this moment, because I'm with you. I don't think they necessarily need to be together, but I'm happy that in this process that Mondo got that clarity, because I think that's the thing that's been weighing him down all this time of, I have to be the parent, I have to care about this other person, love is conditional, da da da. But now he's like, I'm listening to myself, and listening to himself doesn't mean he went out and became a total, I don't want to say whore, but he didn't go wild. He just was like, yeah, I'm doing what feels good for myself, regardless of what that means to you.
Yeah, but yeah, what he said was Mondo's like, we're in a relationship and I just feel like there's not the burden of being a parent.
Yeah.
But I just feel like I hope it sticks through, and I hope that Kyle somehow, subconsciously or not, doesn't guilt him or make him feel guilty
Yeah.
for doing that, because he did. I think Kyle was one who mentioned like, oh, there's a possibility that he might find something attractive or whatever, but because in some way, and okay, tell me if I'm going too deep in this, is this a way of maybe Kyle again actually othering or being dismissive of Mondo and thinking like, he's not gonna fight. When they approach me, it's me they approach. They're not gonna approach Mondo, and he's not gonna find XYZ. But now that the possibility, I think he did say that in his own words, that he might find someone more attractive than me, and then he might leave me. Is that some form? Is that under the umbrella of thinking like Mondo was never gonna find anyone, so I felt secure in that?
Yeah, but I don't think that's unique to Kyle. I think that's the issue of anybody that's in a relationship that takes their partner for granted. And again, I'm sorry, I watch a whole lot of TikTok, but I've been seeing a prank one lately where a a guy, you'll see a couple in a grocery store and the woman's trying to reach something on a top shelf, and this guy comes in and gets the thing off the shelf for her. And then he's like, "Oh, here you go. You look so pretty today." And the husband's like, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" And he's like, "Well, you weren't helping her, so I'm just helping her." And it's like, yes, that until you see somebody treat your partner well, you think that's never going to happen. And that's where your jealousy and your concern comes from, is when you recognize that, yes, your partner, regardless of how you feel about them, regardless of whether you are kind of nose blind to them every day because you see them every day, that doesn't mean other people aren't going to see them that way. And until you see that, you forget.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, Mondo's happy as a clam, and he
I
says,
love
"Welcome
this
to."
for him. I love this for him.
He says, "Welcome to Team Kailondo." So,
I don't
I
love
mean,
that though. That was stupid.
mm, whatever
I don't love that.
floats your boat. All right. Nick and Catherine. Catherine says she's had it. All the attention has been focusing on Nick's pain, and she hopes that he's okay. But can he just stop doing all the things that gives him all the attention? Because it's like, what about my pain? Orna tells Virginia that it's impossible not to be drawn into Nick's world. And Virginia tells her, yeah, but you have to determine what her pain is. So they're in her office, and Catherine shares that she struggles with food and she spends her days punishing herself with it. And I think we see like one in the montage, she's like on a Peloton bike, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
She was exercising. And she says she struggles with it. And then she punishes herself and she says she spends a lot of money. And then Nick is like, yep. And then Nick is like, now is my time to shine.
Mm-hmm.
I am going to talk about Catherine and it's not going to be about me. So she says she went out with their daughter and she spent a lot of money, like $1,000. And Nick is like, this happens often. It's not the first time. Everything is like a vortex. He says like he thinks that it's less about his power and control and more like things that she has been struggling with. And in my opinion, Nick is talking for her, but not in the way that Catherine talks for Nick. He's talking about her like, I don't know. I don't know if I'm just like I said, it just felt like Nick was like, "Oh, finally, it's not
Yeah.
about me." And I'm just going to throw in as much as I can so maybe you keep it on her
Yep.
for as long as possible. And she talks about how, she doesn't feel enough. And then Orna is still trying to piece what they're saying. Because sometimes they're speaking, but I don't think they realize like they're not really making sense and they're not giving details. And they don't realize that Orna doesn't know you. Orna doesn't know your
Yeah.
background. Like you gotta give all of the details. So she says, is it like a class thing? And then she says, tell me more about your fights about money. Nick says, like, listen, I play a role too in this. Like, I have a lot to unpack there. And then he starts with, I don't know. And I'm like, Nick, stop doing that. If
Shut
you've
up.
been listening long enough, it just when people do that, I don't know thing. This was my problem with Patrick from Love is Blind, where it's like, I don't know. I don't I just I get all Allison about it. But and then casually, Nick is like, I used to have a gambling addiction. I'm like, damn, Nick, there's more?
Of course, there's
So
more.
now I'm like, are we going to now go back to Nick? Because he's not wanting the attention, but Loki, does he want the attention? Of course, but he has to be honest. But, dropping it at episode 16, that he had a gambling addiction. That's another layer that we did not know about. And
Yeah,
he
because we
says,
thought he'd revealed that he had some kind of drug addiction before, right?
I do not remember. Well, when he was younger, yes. Okay, yes, that's
Yes,
true.
yes, yeah. So
Yeah.
and back to your original point, like I got frustrated with him too because he doesn't have a ton to say about himself. Um, and you asked the last episode, like, why did he go on here? And I think this is it. I think he went on there to complain about his wife, and he went on there to be like, look at me, I'm so wonderful. Because I think in one of the earlier episodes he was upset because she spent so much money on their kid's birthday party, and I think that's what he thought this was going to be about, with that he was going to
Mhm.
come in and be like, oh, women be shopping, women be spending money. And he has a ton to say about her, but he doesn't do it in the way she does it. When she says it, it's insightful. It's like, hey, I've seen this 360 of you, and this is what I think the issue is, where he's just complaining. And that's not the same thing.
And almost accusatory
Yes.
when he says that. So, yeah, he
Yes.
reveals he has a gambling addiction, and he says he knows what it's like to want something, and he knows what it's like to go through therapy and then go the opposite way of the spectrum and be very controlled about it. I mean, this gave me insight. I'm like, okay, this explains his attitude towards money. Like, he knows what it's like to lose the money, and once you get a taste of it, you could just lose it just as fast. He says he thinks that it's something deeper that she needs to work through. And she says the difference is on the ayahuasca retreat, when they had things like that, he would have hugged her, told her I love you, and that's what she feels like they're losing. She's tearing up at this point, and she's like, I just want warmth. Like, you have been cold and almost aloof. And she doesn't think that she gets that from anyone. Like, her daughter sleeps with her and she lets her daughter cuddle her because that's the only place that she gets it from. I'm like, that is not good, because you are
Mm-mm.
placing responsibility on a child. Like, I don't know
Mm-hmm.
if adults know that they pass down this burden to kids, where the kids know, oh, I'm the reason mom or dad is smiling, so I have to be on,
Mm-hmm.
all the time.
Yep.
So it's just, it's, yeah,
But that
they
also
they
maybe
have a,
explains why she spends so much money on her daughter, is because that's where she gets her affection from. Like, that's where she gets, you know, her love, for lack of a better word. Like, she gets validated, she gets her warmth from her kid. And so to keep that going, she's going to spend $280 at Sephora. She's going to spend $1,000 at lunch. She's going to, do the things, because kids don't know the difference. They're like, I don't recognize that you're buying me my affection, but I recognize when I'm in your presence, good things happen. So I'm going to stay around you as much as I can.
yeah. Yeah.
So,
I do
yikes.
think it's a combination of a lot of things, because she did say I think she was poor when she was growing
Mhm.
up, and just, trying to prove to herself that I can afford these things now. And it's just, I just saw a stat. I don't know how true it is, but it's like shopping regulates, people use shopping to regulate their emotion. It's not like breaking news or anything, but if she's going through all this internal struggle inwards, like, that's just the easiest way to do
Yeah.
that. It's just
Yeah.
that it also could be a cry for attention. She's looking for attention from her husband.
Mhm.
That is the thing
Mhm.
that gets him all riled up. And it's like he's gonna notice, like, hey, you spent $1,000. So he might be yelling at her, but at some point, at least they're having some kind of communication. It's also dysfunctional. But yeah.
Yeah. Like
Or
Rod calling Allison Jekyll and Hyde. Like, that's not a nice thing, but you're gonna get her attention.
yeah. Orna says they need to address the deprivation and her trying to fill that hole. And, she says she just wants to hear that she is enough. They finish their therapy session, they go out, and I will, to his credit, Nick does give her like a long hug. So, I don't know. I mean, I guess, no, that's tough. I was gonna say, if I had to pick a couple, maybe them, but you remember I have my beef with Nick,
Yeah.
and I don't know. They can overcome it, but yeah, maybe them.
I wrote a note to myself, and I don't know if you caught this, where uh Katherine said she doesn't feel like she's enough, and then Orner said, You're enough." And it just felt to me like that scene from Good Will Hunting where Robin Williams tells Matt Damon, like, "It's not your fault. It's not your fault. It's not your fault." And I was like, "Oh, so cute."
Yeah, but she could say that, but I don't think she's at the stage where she can receive it or
I don't think
believe it.
Orner. I don't think Orna is the person that she needs to hear it from. I mean, obviously, big picture, she needs to hear it from herself. But in this context, I think she wants to hear it from her husband.
Hmm. Maybe, I mean, maybe the hug that he gave her made him realize that he needs to. We'll see on the next episode if they made any progress, but these are the times where it's good, where the therapy gives you different perspective and you get to see the things that you've been taking for granted. But the problem is, do they follow up on it, and do they
Yeah.
act out and use the tools that they've been given, for this?
I
So
feel like Catherine will. I don't know if Nick will. And that is to her disadvantage because she can't repair this by herself.
yeah. Also, if Nick, my biggest beef with Nick is just coming on people who come on reality TV show and says, "Oh, I want to save this. I want to be private." And if you knew that that was an intention, then go to therapy, but without the cameras. I just
Right.
that's so easy to do, you know. So
Mhm.
okay, that was it. Any last thoughts?
No, I'm still go Mondo. You do you, sir.
All right. Can you share with people where they can find you?
Yes, you can find me traveling the world. I am now in Southeast Asia. So you can follow our adventures on jns.adventures on Instagram and YouTube.
Okay. You can find me on any of the social medias, Instagram, Blue Sky. I sometimes live tweet what I'm watching on Threads. It is Altar Call MAFS. Please give me a 5-star rating on Spotify and on Apple Podcasts. And don't forget, if you'd like to support the podcast, you can support me at patreon.com/altarcallmafs. And if not, you can also just join for free and then join the community chat there. And sometimes there are free episodes for free patrons over there. Until next time, I'll talk to you then. Bye, guys.
Bye.